Hi everybody. So I filmed this once and apparently my laptop fan was so loud that you could hear it on the video, so I'm going to use my headset for this and see what happens. I'm going to try not to say so much, and I'm going to keep a counter going, so we'll see how many times I say it in this video. I said it a few times still in the other video, even consciously making an effort not to. But anyway, I wanted to do an artsy fartsy blog. I wanted to do a review on a couple products that I've been using. The first one is air dry clay, and I've been using it for a while. When I started out making 3D sculptures, I was using Sculpey. And for those of you who don't know, when you use Sculpey, you have to bake it once you're finished in order for it to harden. And what I didn't like about it was two things. The first being that even after the product is baked, it's not exactly solid. It's still kind of pliable, bendy. I didn't like that. I kind of feel like it doesn't hold paint very well, which that could just be the fact that it's clay. Maybe I'm not doing something right for it to stick, but it just seems like the paint comes off of it really easily. It was very difficult. I think I said I only had two things, but I guess there are more. It was very difficult to keep the Sculpey in the shape that I wanted it to be in getting it from my hands into the oven. And I was using tinfoil to do that. Like, I would work with the Sculpey on the tinfoil, and then that way I could take it directly on the tinfoil and just stick it in the oven. And that helped, but that didn't completely resolve that issue. And the baking in and of itself could be kind of finicky. Like, in following the directions on the package, I didn't always get consistent results. Sometimes I had to bake it for longer. Sometimes I tried baking it at higher temperatures to see if it would make it more solid. And in a lot of cases, it just turned it darker instead of it being a lighter beige color. Which, I mean, you can get it in several colors, but I had the beige color, and it seemed like when I put it in at higher temperatures, it would turn dark, like an orange thing. But I ended up switching to air dry clay from the Sculpey. I like to start off kind of at the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to making a switch, just to test things out. And then if I really like what I'm using, then I don't mind investing in a higher end product. But just to get started, the brand that I bought is actually Crayola. And I picked this up from Walmart. I paid $5 for this entire tub. And it's 2.5 pounds of air dry clay. So you could make even really large pieces with this. I make a lot of small stuff because most of the stuff I make is jewelry or jewelry related. So I make charms and things like that. But I really enjoyed working with this. I made a piece for a friend of mine out of Sculpey, and he gave it back to me to do some touch-up work on it because it had gotten chipped really bad. So I went back and repainted it, and then I sealed it with a spray paint with a gloss finish. It's a spray paint sealer. And that same day that I gave it back to him, the paint chipped again. So, disappoint, right? I did make a piece for someone else out of the air dry clay, and I painted it and sealed it, and I was actually sealing both pieces at the same time. And I haven't heard anything from her as far as the paint chipping yet, but I just gave it to her a few weeks ago, like maybe a month ago. Dang. But we'll see if she comes back and says anything about the paint chipping. As far as the air dry clay goes, this is a piece that I've been working on, and this is going to be a necklace. I made a a little loop on the back. There you go. You can see that. And once it's painted and then sealed, I'm going to run a string through here so it's like it's a laced up broken heart. No. And then I'll run the string in the back and ta-da! I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this because this is going to be kind of my guinea pig, and I'll be able to see it stand the test of time or fall on its face. Another piece that, if you want to see something that's been painted, I painted this, and it's a Dr. Doom head. It's going to be a tie pin for my boyfriend. He's a huge Dr. Doom fan. And I have that piece of fabric attached to it because that's going to be his cloak. And give me just a second to get it together here. I'm going to stitch it so that it's kind of like that. And I need to hem it and finish off the edges, etc., etc. This also needs to be sealed before I go any further with it. And the little pin, actually, I picked up at Michael's, which was awesome, and I got like a whole bag of them. They're in my craft box. And with this, I had some, I guess it's findings, some of the little metal in-betweeners, and I inserted those when I was doing the sculpting for this. I inserted those into the cheeks, so that's actually what the little silver balls are that are in his cheeks. Those are beads, essentially. And they're really in there. They're not going anywhere. I was really impressed with that. So we'll see what happens once I seal it. And I'll be paying attention to the other piece as well, to the heart, to see what happens with that. Oops, there's someone texting me that they got home okay. I don't know if you heard that. Another product that I've been using, or that I just used recently, is a product called Magic Gloss. And I found a moth wing on my mom's back porch a week or so ago, and I wanted to preserve it in some way, and I'd seen butterfly wing jewelry and stuff like that online, so I thought maybe this would be a cool experiment, like an artsy-fartsy experiment to do. By the way, I apologize for the lighting and the quality of my camera. I need to do a different lighting situation. I think I'm going to do the next video from my desk. But anyway, back to Magic Gloss. So I put the moth into a plastic bag, and I left it there for a few days at the least. But I put it in the plastic bag so it wouldn't attract bugs and it wouldn't get moldy or weird crap like that, until I figured out what to do with it. And when I found out about the Magic Gloss product, I thought, okay, I can order that online. I ended up going to a really huge craft store called Hobby Lobby, and they put Michael's to shame. And I'd never been in a place like that. If there's one near you and you haven't been, you should go, because they have everything. Absolutely everything. Anyway, so this is the wing, and the Magic Gloss is really cool because it processes very quickly, and I was doubtful about that because a lot of products will tell you, oh, this processes in 20 minutes. This is for realsies. This did what it said it was going to do, and it's hard. Like, it's super hard. The only qualm, it's not even a qualm, this is just a fact of the project that I was working on. It's not quite covered all the way, so I need to do a second coat. And the cool thing about this is it processes in UV light. So I did this outside. I used one of my mom's little tables, and I set up shop outside and made sure I was in direct sunlight. And the sun was actually setting when I did this. But it came out really well, I think. The only downside is the integrity of the wing got sacrificed a bit, like down toward the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty see-through. It's pretty sheer. I think that was kind of inevitable. I did read online about you're supposed to seal it before you put it in something like this, which I ended up finding out after the fact. but we'll see if it fades or bleeds over time. But this stuff is really cool, and this didn't take very long to process at all. The tricky part about this was the work surface for it, because I was afraid that it would stick to whatever I was working on. I ended up using freezer paper, and I experimented with it first just to make sure that it wouldn't super stick, and it worked out okay. What I ended up doing was I used my freezer paper, and then I used the bottle and made a pool of the magic gloss, and I left it in the sun and let it process a bit, and then I flipped it over I used a safety pin to kind of, like you do with an omelet, you go around the edges and get it loose. I flipped it over, and when I flipped it over, the underside wasn't quite fully processed, so it was tacky, it was sticky. I set the wing down into the tacky side, and then came back in with more magic gloss and sealed the top. And this was the finished product. Now, there is a part of the wing that's still sticking out of the magic gloss, so I need to go back and do another layer on top of this. And this product is supposed to be self-doming, which I haven't really seen that on this so far, but I think when you do layers, or if you're working with something that is in a self-contained, like it's in a contained thing, like if you were, I forget what they're called, but if you were using something with a frame in it and you were putting the magic gloss in that, it would probably dome a lot better. But I'm going to see what happens when I do the second coat of the magic gloss with this, and I can let you guys know. This stuff also, you can drill it and you can sand it, and it has these sharp edges on it. I actually used an X-Acto to go through and just cut off the excess while it was still just a little bit under processed, so it wouldn't be quite so hard to cut. But I'm going to come in and sand these rough edges and give it a bit more of a shape, and then I'm going to drill a hole here in the top, and I'm going to make it into a necklace. And I think once it's up against your skin, it won't be quite as transparent, but I can let you guys know once I get it all finished. The really cool part about this was that you can drill through it. I'm really excited about that, because I think there are other projects that I could use this on and make something really nifty. You can also add stuff to it, like glitter and that type of thing, and mix it and then let it dry, and it'll have like a shiny surface. And the lady that makes the product, she does tutorials online for using it. She has her own YouTube channel, and I can put a link to that info in the info bar, or I'll put it, excuse me, up here in subtitles, or whatever you want to call that. So that's about it. That's what I've been working with lately. I do make jewelry, I sew, I do repairs on clothing, I repair jewelry, I paint, I sculpt, I do a lot of drawing. Like I work on a lot of different projects. I used to do friendship bracelets and that type of thing. I do a little bit of knitting, but not much. The only thing I know is a knit stitch, so I'm pretty lame with the knitting. But everything else is pretty cool. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens with the magic gloss and with the air dry clay projects. Time will really be the test with those, and that's probably about it. If you guys have used magic gloss or the air dry clay and you've had good experiences or bad experiences, feel free to share. Or if you have questions about the magic gloss, I'd be more than happy to answer that. People probably are more inclined to have more experience with the air dry clay as opposed to the magic gloss. So I hope this review helped. Have a good one. Have fun storming the castle. Goodbye.